welcome to Think Tech, raising public awareness about technology, energy, globalism, and diversification as part of the Think Tech digital series. This show is The Arts in Hawaii. I am your host, Donna Blanchard, the very proud managing director of Kumukuhua Theater. My guest today is Reiko Ho. Reiko is an actor, dancer, director, educator, third Dan Black Belt and Sensei. She's the owner of Red Lotus Dojo, where she teaches Hapkido and kickboxing. She also has her master's degree in theater and dance, has served as the education director for Ohio Productions and the upper school dean of students, drama director at La Pietra School for Girls. We're gonna get to Reiko's incredible life in just a moment. Remember that we broadcast live on the internet at 2, 3, and 4 every weekday. All of our shows are streamed live on ustream.tv and Spreaker.com. If you want the links to live streams or previous broadcasts, go to thinktechhawaii.com. And if you'd like to join us in our downtown gallery for any of our shows, just write to j@thinktechhawaii.com. Thank you so much for being here, Reiko.
I am really excited to be here.
It is my honor to have you here, and this is the coolest gig in the world because I get to invite really interesting artists to come and sit and talk with me for an hour, and you're on my list, and you're here.
Well, I'm honored to be on your list.
Your list of not just accomplishments, but what you do day in and day out seems varied to me. The first time I learned that here's this lovely lady who's a director, one of the first shows that I saw outside of Kumukuhua Theater when I moved here was The Lion Dancer at Honolulu Theater for Youth.
Which I loved. Wonderful show.
That show was awesome. And Eric Johnson, the artistic director there, was taking me around, introducing me to people, and one of the first questions out of my mouth was, who directed this show? There is such a personality to shows that you direct. There's a playfulness and there is a physicality that is like another character in the show. And I think a person needs to see one of your shows to really know what I'm talking about, but you see that flavor in your scene changes. It really comes through.
It's true. Apparently it's become a little bit of a signature.
It is a little bit of a signature. There's a playfulness throughout the pieces, and you also directed Will the Real Charlie Chan Please Stand Up at Kumukuhua Theater, and the storytelling is there, the most important part of the piece. The storytelling is there, and it is neither hindered nor augmented in any way by what you do, but it is supported with this light. I don't know how else to describe it. So when I learned that you're also a sensei and you have the Red Lotus Dojo, at first I was like, what? That's the first time I've heard of an actor and director having that on the side. But it makes it makes more sense when I think about the physicality of your work. So which love came first for you? The theater or martial arts?
Martial arts came later, definitely theater and dance. So when I was in second grade, I bussed into Kennedy Theater with my elementary school, and I saw a show that was directed by Tamara Hunt Montgomery. And it was one of her first shows. She was new to the islands way back then. And I decided in second grade that I wanted to be an actor and a director.
I love it that you brought up the story of that pivotal moment, that very beginning, because I think most artists have that moment when something called to them. And what happened? So you saw this, and did you immediately tell your parents, or did you?
No, I was really, really shy. I loved to read, so language was really important to me from a very young age. I didn't even start dancing until I was in middle school. I always wanted to. Was introduced to hula first, then ballet, then jazz. Dance was kind of my sister's thing. We sort of had the Joy Luck Club going on at home too. I played the piano and did all that. Got the voice lessons, and my parents were very supportive, but I think they always thought it was going to be a hobby. that it wasn't going to be the real job that I eventually was going to have after I finished my college degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think all of our parents say, well, that would be nice, dear, but...
Right. You're going to be an artist of some kind? No.
Yeah. No, that's not what people do for a living.
But I loved it, lived it, breathed it, dreamed it, managed to get a scholarship to DanceWorks Hawaii when I was in high school. And that was run by Simeon Dan and Marie Takazawa, wonderful people. Simeon's now on the mainland, and Marie's still here, but changed my life in terms of work ethic and what it really meant to be a dancer at a very young age. You know, I think everybody has sort of the mythology of the artist in their mind, the glamorous fame and celebrity that you may or may not have, when in reality it's hard work, discipline, and showing up to the party.
And repetition, right? Especially as a dancer. Well, yeah, actors also get a lot of repetition.
Always, right? That's
yeah.
the repetition.
That muscle memory.
Yep.
So, well, let's go with that. Where after that, where did you go next?
I decided I wanted to be a theater major immediately. Entered into UH for a semester, and then immediately went abroad and stayed abroad for a bit. I went to the University of London, and I got to study theater and dance outside of the University of London. I danced at Pineapple Gardens, where the Royal Ballet gets to practice.
Oh, wow.
Really fun. And I saw shows. I think I saw, like, the couple of years that I was there, I think I went to see, 5 shows a week or some crazy thing like that on student passes, and I would stand in line and see everything, that pub performances, dance concerts, the ballet, musicals,
Oh, wow.
anything I could.
But where did you make that leap from dancer to theater?
I was, I think I always thought of myself as a theater actor person, so in high school I was acting in shows and
Okay.
writing. I actually do love to write, and that was how I met Lisa Matsumoto later in college.
Oh, okay.
One of the reasons that we kind of became friends.
Wow. Okay. Now you, I think you're the first person that I've talked to who has had such varied interests so young in life. So already then you were dancing, writing, acting. You were passionate about all of them. That's a lot to sort of be diving into. Did your parents support all of that?
I think they didn't know how to, but if they tried to, but when I think I'm different than others in my family, so
How many
there's
kids?
just me and my sister, but I think in our fairly traditional Asian family, it wasn't always the norm to become an artist.
Yeah.
But I think when you have passion and a dream, and that's all I wanted to do.
You just
I
had
just
to.
did it.
Yeah. Okay, so you went to London. I really like this, so I'm going to go to London. How did that happen? Okay, Reiko, we'll send you.
I wanted to leave Hawaii, and I wanted to go to college elsewhere. So in that choosing, it just kind of how it fell out and came together. At first, I didn't want to go to UH. We had some family drama going on and this and that, and I ended up going to UH for a bit, and then I just wanted to leave.
And what did you think would be different if you were off the island?
I think everybody dreams of Bright Lights, big city, especially when you're on the island. It's a very sheltered life, and all the books I read and shows I saw, they were all elsewhere in big, wonderful cities like New York City and Los Angeles or London.
Okay, so you had the opportunity.
And I do love British theater and actors and whatnot.
Right.
Downton Abbey all the way.
Oh, I can't wait for the new season. We can't go there. We can't talk about it. So how long were you in London?
I was there for a little over a year. came back and was very fortunate. So then a series of things happened. I came back thinking that I was gonna move on, wasn't sure if I was gonna stay in Hawaii, thought I would move to one of the big cities and go to school someplace else, maybe go back to London. And I met Dennis Carroll, was one of the professors I had here when I got back. Right?
Founding member of COOKE Theater.
And I had met him before in my initial semester, because he teaches some of the beginning classes in the theater. I had also met Glenn Cannon and a few of the others. So started my semester. I did my first kumu show when I got back too. That was a million years ago.
Well, that's why you stayed.
And during that show, I met Joe Dodd, who was also at UH, designed the show. Yeah. So I met him, and he had brought out a student of his from the mainland to do his master's program, who is my best friend in the whole world. So we met during that kumu show when I returned to Hawaii, and he lives in New York City and works in costume design on Broadway now, and we have been fast friends since that kumu show.
Oh.
Yes.
What was the show?
It was called Overtures.
Was it naughty?
I I remember having to kiss several people in the show, multiple people in the show.
Well, all right then. It's a good name for the show.
Yes.
Who wrote it? Do you remember?
I can't remember. But it was directed by Dando Cleaver. Gosh, I can't remember who wrote it.
Okay.
It's truly a long time ago.
No pressure. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Anyway, so a series of things happened. I got back. I did my first show in the Hawaii Community Theater, which was for kumu. I met Tamara Hunt Montgomery in the most unusual way. So I was doing a show for Dennis Carroll. Dennis was doing the entire Oresteia. So it was a 7-hour show with the 3 separate plays, and pretty much every student in the theater department at that time was involved in that. It was magnificent. It was huge. It was a show on a scale that, when I look back now, I have no idea how he conceived all of this and for the whole thing to go down. So we were all part of this show, and most of us were in 2 of the 3, and there was these giant poles sticking out of the stage because we had these giant puppets that were just made of metal poles. They were abstract, very abstract puppets of the gods, etc., and tridents that we carried and danced with, and he had a Italian come out and do different movement styles with us. It was crazy. So anyway, I bring up the poles because I'm running down the hall at Kennedy Theater, and Margie Welch, actually, who is still affiliated with the theaters as well, comes and grabs me and says, "You have to come up to the main stage." And I said, "Why am I coming up to the main stage?" And grabs my arm and drags me up the stairs, and I crash into one of the poles. My leg is bleeding, and I'm holding onto my leg, hopping onto the main stage, and I see lights, and I hear voices from the house. "This is her. Where's the script?" It was an audition.
Oh my.
That's how I met Tammy Hunt Montgomery.
Oh my goodness.
So I was auditioning for a show by Orrin Harris, very prolific children's theater playwright, who has since passed, but one of the most important in sort of the children's theater history. It's called Monkey Magic, and it incorporated Beijing opera. And one of the other movement styles that I had begun studying was Beijing opera.
Oh, wow.
And I did study that for 7 years in my time at UH and beyond, and got to travel to China. So anyway.
Just throw that in there.
Yes.
Okay.
Movement is my thing, though. I love all kinds of movement. So I get on stage and I read for her, and we immediately had a kind of kinship and bonded. I mean, we are still dear friends, and when she asked me to act in the revival of Happily Ever After last year, of course, the answer is always, of course, yes. Yeah. Even though I felt it was way beyond too old for that nonsense. But
with Ohia, that was
yes.
with Ohia.
But yes, so of course, I met her, and she ended up being one of the pivotal figures in my life. So we ended up working together on the show. And one day during rehearsal, go down to her office, and I'm sitting in her office, and she has a row of pictures, posters from shows that she has done along the back walls, and sitting there waiting for her, looking at all the posters, and I look at this one poster, and I'm like, Tammy, did you direct that show? And she said, yes. It was a show that I had seen in 2nd grade that changed my life.
Oh my gosh.
Uh-huh.
That is so cool. That is beautiful. All right, and we're done.
So that's how I knew I was meant to come back and stay in Hawaii. There was a reason that I was back, and I made the decision then to stay. And I studied Asian theater, which was amazing at UH. Got to travel to Japan and China, and the mainland through the theater department. So I finished my undergraduate and was awarded the Award for Excellence in Children's Theater, and then received a merit scholarship to continue my master's program with Tammy, and I did. And during that time, met other pivotal figures like Lisa Matsumoto, and began a different journey with theater in Hawaii, and continued working with Kumukahua, and started a relationship with H2I as well.
Okay, we're going to wrap up. We're going to stop right there. We're going to come back and we're going to get into education. I love that story. That was really nice. Okay, this is The Arts in Hawaii. I'm Donna Blanchard. I'm talking with Reiko Ho. We're on the Think Tech digital series in Pioneer Plaza in the downtown Honolulu. We'll be right back.
We want to thank our underwriters. Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric on Maui and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve. Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company. The High-Tech Development Corporation, the state's leading technology agency, attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism. Castle and Cook Hawaii, with a time-honored legacy that spans more than 160 years and revolves around its mission of investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state. Hawaii Gas, formerly the Gas Company, a proponent of the Liquefied Natural Gas Initiative, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future. Collateral Analytics, a Hawaii-based tech company empowering the real estate industry with greater and faster access to the tools and data they need to make better informed property investment decisions. I'm Nicole Hori. Thanks so much for joining us on Think Tech. I'm Maria Kashen. See you next time.
Hi, we're back and we're live. This is The Arts in Hawaii on Think Tech Hawaii digital series. I am Donna Blanchard and I'm talking with Reiko Ho. And Reiko, let's go right back to, towards the end of the last segment, you sort of threw in childhood education. Mm-hmm. Where did that start? Did you always know you wanted to work with kids? You're in a small family.
No, not at all. So I thought of myself as the artist, and I had never experienced really, except as a child, theater for youth or children's theater, or even really knew that it was a genre that I could be in. I was thinking Broadway, Shakespeare, I don't know, Asian theater, other things.
Yeah.
And throughout this time I continued dancing. I feel very lucky that I get to experience the body, in that way all the time, and bring it into all of my performances, whatever it is. And children's theater is highly physical, so it suited me as an actor. And then the other part that it suited was working with Tammy and the people that work with her. She has this sort of innate joy that sort of resonates with me, and playfulness, and finding your inner child all the time. So that has always been part of my own philosophy as a actor and a performer and a director. And I love, I think it's personality-wise that is where I'm at too. And I always just feel immense joy in that moment where, it all comes together when you're performing. When you start as a performer, there's those moments that are just so glorious because everything, it feels like a moment of perfection, right? Mm-hmm. But then it comes and goes. So
Yeah.
you'll have those fleeting moments of perfection, and then you're always working to find another one, right?
Yeah, and you better not enjoy that moment too
No,
much because
no.
you get lost and you won't be ready for
Right.
the next one when it comes along. Mhm.
Right. I mean, then that's the beauty of being a theater actor versus and performer and artist versus perhaps some of the other art forms. You know, it is a very ephemeral. So you learn to just appreciate the joy in that moment, and then you move on.
Mhm.
And Tammy has that. So we played a lot, and I found this whole other very inspirational world of theater. And during that time, educational theater obviously is kind of part of that program. So if you go into the children's theater program, you are exposed to being a teacher. And it's, you know, now it's a kind of a big thing. You know, at the time, theater and education was kind of being developed. There weren't that many practitioners of it. But now there are many more. And I started teaching and developing curriculum as part of a class, and one of her other former students who was helping teach this class said, I think you need to go and be a teacher. You need to go out and do a internship of some kind or work with Alliance for Drama Education. And I was in my master's program, and I thought, okay, sure. And I found great joy in working with kids.
God bless you. They intimidate me, especially in PAX.
They're crazy and honest,
Yes,
but joyful
sometimes.
and amazing. You have
Then
to,
you're good at your job.
Yeah, I think that that they are magnified what we all really are and want, right? We all want those fleeting moments of perfection and joy. And if you can somehow give them the tools to come together and have that together,
Yeah.
you've created this amazing experience that builds self-esteem and allows them a voice. So that's what I did for 5 years. So throughout my master's and after I finished, I continued working with the Alliance for Drama Education, and then was working with HTY as well as a performer. And then I also choreographed one show. It was a show by Dan Kellen and Angela Angel back in the day. And then I also worked with their stage 1 and 2 program, which was their summer program, performing arts program for kids, and did that for a few years.
Do you feel like when you're working with kids, you're working with a broad spectrum of ages?
Yes, I've worked with everything from little tiny preschoolers through college. So vast array of students.
Yeah.
And teachers. I've also trained teachers and worked with teachers.
Nice.
Mhm.
There's, there is something so immediate and fluid about that, because I've worked with adults as well as kids, and there is a certain amount of, gosh, I don't want to use the word perfection, but there is, I'm going to have to use there's a certain perfection that I've got this 4-person show and I'm casting these A-list actors in it, and we're just going to get into those rehearsals and it's going to hum, and it is a very different creature to reach that point with kids. I was also a musical director on a production of How to Eat Like a Child a few years ago. That show's adorable.
I love that show.
And we double cast it. We had an entire two separate casts of the show that traded off performances, and it was magnificent in a much different way than, you know, the adult. Do you know what
I
I'm talking? Do you know what I'm
totally
trying to get at
understand.
here?
And I think actually one of the things I've learned from teaching kids and then doing children's theater, I also love performing for kids. So I did that for years, you know, with Tammy, and then continue with HTY. And but kids teach you that perfection is overrated. That the joy in the moment sometimes come from just the big happy accidents. And so even now when I teach Hapkido or whatever else I'm teaching, because it's all related, for me, I'm like, it's okay to fall down, just get up with some style and grace and keep smiling. But also just in the play, there's joy. So when I first was an actor, I hated improvisation because I wanted to be rehearsed. I wanted to be perfect. I wanted to find the best voice, the best body for the character, the best way to present that, the best way to work with the director, the perfect way, right? And when you're working with kids, there's no perfect. So you also have to let go of all of your need for perfection, and you have to go. So you have to be able to ride the waves. So for me, it became this very glorious journey in learning how to ride the wave and make the best out of anything. So now I think it's developed to the point where, somebody hands me a challenging script, or there are challenges during a rehearsal period. My attitude now is kind of bring it on. Now what can we do? Let's figure it out. And it becomes a much more joyful process because of that. So that's what I've learned from my teaching of the children. I do agree with you, they can be the most challenging, and if they resist you, it's difficult,
Well, and little egos are so difficult to deal with because they can be so strong, and you don't want to bruise the child while you kick the ego out of the room, you know?
Right. Firm, but flexible, and loving and joyful. That's hopefully where I...
Firm and flexible and loving and joyful. I'm kicking the ego out of the room now. I feel like...
But that's what it should be.
You
have to get over your ego at some point.
It's difficult. I think it's more difficult when the vocabulary just isn't there to have. I've had the conversation with an adult actor before. It's harder with... I think
they
more
don't
difficult
have
when the vocabulary
they don't have
isn't
the
there.
perception and the vocabulary of what their ego actually is, or what that hurt feeling might be, or what exactly.
Yeah.
But there are other languages that you can speak with them that they do understand, I think. And I think that all people, especially children, they have a desire to do well and please. So they don't want to fail.
Right.
So if you're giving them the skills to succeed and you're doing it with some love and discipline, and not letting them get away with not doing it well, they will respect you, and then they will step up.
All right, I'm going to take your word for that. So I would bet that a lot of that comes from the physical play that you are able to give them, and that focus, the manifestation of what is going on inside.
I think so.
Agree?
I think so. I think I'm always very physical. So even when I'm doing creative drama, I do a lot of creative movement, and I think you're right. I'm thinking back on all the shows that I ever directed, and physicality and sort of a visual frame of reference in space, because that's the other thing I love about dance and how it's changed my perspective as a director in staging, because dance is pure line in space, and you're using light to shape the lines in the space. Whereas theater, you get music, you also get all the words and the story. So you're creating this sort of almost like a mobile that moves in the space.
Ooh.
So that's kind of how I think of it when I'm staging things.
Oh, I like that analogy. So there are lasting impressions from moment to moment in that ephemeral, fleeting world. You're like Little Man Tate. You remember in that movie when they show him watching a pool? You know what I'm talking about? Well, I've always thought that was very interesting to look at the mathematics behind those spatial relationships and how it comes into movement.
No, but it's true. And I love reading The Empty Space, I think was one of those first books that I was reading when I was in my graduate program directing, and it was, it's so beautiful. One of my favorite moments is walking into a theater before the set has begun, before anything has begun, and it's just space. And I know that within a few weeks, that space is going to be filled with the voices of my actors and the lights and the sets and the physical presence, a world. So I find this moment right before it all happens. I love when I arrive with the stuff from the first day and we're just coming into rehearsal and I get to look at the space and realize what a special art I do.
Yeah.
It's nothing and it becomes something.
I love that. I love the day after a strike to be in the theater when it's bare. All right, we have to go to our second break. Pardon me. We'll be right back. This is the Arts in Hawaii on the Think Tech Hawaii Digital Series. I'm your host, Donna Blanchard, and we'll be right back.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Hori for Think Tech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Hori. Mahalo.
Hi, we're back and we're live. This is the Arts in Hawaii on the Think Tech Hawaii Digital Series. I am your host, Donna Blanchard, proud managing director of Kumukuhua Theater, and I am talking with Reiko Ho, who has recently directed a show at Kumukuhua Theater, the opening show of our season. Will the real Charlie Chan please stand up? And so let's come into the present now. That work, which was done with all that playfulness and incredible spatial design and ingenuity, I think, the moving door within the space. And I love how at Kumu we very often use such minimal sets.
Me too.
That are all that is required to tell the story. It really puts the focus on the story. And the movement that you brought out of those actors, maybe. No, there's a question. Do you feel like you're giving it to them or you're uncovering it?
Actually, a little bit of both. I actually like to think that it's a collaboration. So when I came to them with a vision, and then we played, like one of the rehearsals, we did variations of the Charleston for the whole rehearsal until they got silly and started doing silly things. So we just kept playing with and then I watched all the movement. So to create the Charleston transitions or the dance, because it kept being referred to during the show, I watched them and I watched how they moved and I watched what they could do, because they didn't audition for this show to be dancers.
Right.
And I didn't want them to look like dancers. I wanted them to look like the people at the dance hall having a good time. So I watched their quality of movement. And I've done, from Asian theater to modern dance, there's a lot of different mediums that I pull from when I'm watching people move, and how they can use that for their character. And sometimes when I watch them move, that's how I start working with them on their character. So for example, as I was watching Tiffany, who was one of the women in the show, and Jen, as I watch them move, then I start talking to them about what they are doing, and then we start a collaboration. So it becomes, my direction is based off of what I'm seeing and overrun by the concept that I put on the whole thing. So there was the concept and my vision, but then it never comes out to exactly what you first envision it to, which I love.
Right.
It becomes a whole different thing. So I guess I don't want to apply things to people. I want to work with them to develop something that is unique.
That's already, coming out of them. So let's talk about the other half of your life and how this is incorporated in, because you're a badass. Ian, could we please bring up the picture of Reiko? There it is. That tells a story right there. Look at your right foot. It turned in like that, and it looks so effortless for you. I just wanted everyone, thank you, Ian. I just wanted to make sure that everyone recognized why it is that I have a little girl crush on this woman. That is tough, man. When did that start growing in your life?
I started that in college as well. So one of the other pivotal people that I met during that time when I came back to Hawaii and then decided to stay was my Hapkido master.
How is Hapkido? What is? Can you give me
Hapkido is a Korean martial art. It is less well known than Taekwondo, but it is very well renowned for its self-defense techniques. But it also has very beautiful kicking and striking technique. And a lot of movie stars actually use Hapkido because it's very circular and beautiful to watch. So Jackie Chan is a black belt in Hapkido.
Oh. What Don?
I don't know. First? I don't know.
Oh,
A
okay.
million?
Okay, and is that something that you've practiced ever since?
So when I started, it was just, it's all the same. Now that I'm able to sort of look back on my life a little bit, I see that there's the center, and then expression are just spokes off of the center, and you have to find a spoke that you love and you go off in that direction, but you can have multiple spokes to do the same thing. So it's still me, I'm still teaching to people to be transformed and to find something in them that transforms them. That's what I see my journey as a martial artist as. So I started, just loved it. Like I loved dance and Beijing opera when I first did it, and just other theater and acting, and it's one of those things that takes a long journey, so most people don't have that kind of commitment to finish the long journey, and that there's challenges along the journey, and it becomes this microcosm of your life. But it is movement again.
It becomes a microcosm of your life.
Yes, I see the mat as sort of a microcosm of life, and I can see different things in people's bodies when they work out with me. Muscles hold on to so many different, at the risk of sounding a little hippy-dippy at this point, but muscles hold on to so many memories and pain and happiness and different things. I can see it when people move. So when they're training with me, or even actors, I can see it. Actors, we're coming in for a specific reason, so usually that's less so. But when people are just coming in to work out, I can see an imbalance in their body or inflexibility in their body, and it often reflects in their life. Maybe they're very inflexible in their relationships, or they don't know how to make their center light. Things like that.
Yeah. They don't know how to. I don't think my center's light. I need some work on that. I have to say, you speak with, such passion about it. And I think there are physical things that I enjoy. I'm looking forward to the holidays. I'm going to go back to Michigan and ski. I like to ride my bike. I like to walk. But really, the day-to-day practice that I have is on an elliptical machine watching weeds on my droid. I don't love it. I really enjoy the show, but it's going to end.
I love it. Being a black belt is a metaphor for personal excellence, and I think it's the same with being a good actor, being a good dancer. You're always striving to exceed your personal best, and martial arts does that. But martial arts also brings in the spiritual. And for me, dancing and the arts are spiritual. I find a great spirituality in connecting with people and art and becoming part of something that is greater than myself. The martial arts are the same. It requires you to connect with yourself, to have integrity and be exactly who you are, and have the integrity to be that, and to work with what you got, and try to exceed what you think you can. And so that's always what I'm trying to do, transform people's minds so that they can exceed what they think they can do.
And fleeting, because it's different every day, right?
It's different
Depending
every
on
day.
who you are when you
Same
woke
as
up.
theater, exactly.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I've always, and I've had the, got in the, I don't want to say criticism, but the comment before in yoga class that I'm so tied into the perfection of it. There's that word again, that it's supposed to look like that. So I'm doing everything I can to get there, and I don't feel the satisfaction unless I'm there.
Right. But I think that perhaps that's what we were talking about, the ego. It doesn't matter what something looks like on the outside all the time. For example, I'm not perhaps the most conventional looking martial artist. Like people don't, when I say that I am, I often get looks of astonishment and, okay, well, show me some moves, or I don't know.
we can just show the picture.
But I am to my core, and I actually lead a life of, which means that I lead a life of service and betterment all the time. And it's both physical, mental, and spiritual. So in the martial arts, we try to address all three areas all the time, which makes it better than the elliptical machine.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It must be. We're going to take one more break. I'm so sorry this conversation is going to end after the next one. This is the Arts in Hawaii on the Think Tech Hawaii Digital Series. We are in Pioneer Plaza in the heart of downtown Honolulu, and we will be right back.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidell for Think Tech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaiian Foreign Trade Zone, number 9, has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBED, the Hawaii Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program. It does so to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Jay Fidell of Think Tech. Mahalo.
Hi, we are back and we're live. This is the Arts in Hawaii on the Think Tech Hawaii Digital Series. I am Donna Blanchard, your host, and I am talking with the lovely Miss Reiko Ho. So let's talk about the emotion behind. I want to talk about the emotion behind the physical movement, because there's not that these are necessarily different schools of thought as far as expression goes in theater as well as dance. There's at some point there's a word, there's a thought, and there's a movement, and the same goes for martial arts. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And at something you'll start learning the physical skills, I think, first, and then you'll start to understand what it means in your body and why you're doing it, not just executing a kick or learning how to do that kick, right? It just it goes from the superficial to a much deeper experience. I think the thing that draws it all in is let's come back to the joy. I think, okay, so I named my studio Red Lotus because that is the chakra of the heart. It's about passion, it's about love and joy. And I think that ties everything together. So we know when a theater audience member comes to see a show, they want it to resonate in some way. And sometimes it's painful, and sometimes it's happy and, you know, funny or whatever, but it resonates with their heart.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
And joy is just part of all of those emotions. You can't have joy without all the other. So when you latch into that real joyfulness, and you can even bring it to those painful moments, you know, that you're making art out of pain, and you're bringing artistry to that moment, and you share that integrity with an audience member, that resonates. And that's the same with martial arts. If I'm teaching you, and I know that I'm teaching you more than a kick, what I'm teaching you is to control your body in a way that you've never controlled it, and to focus and be in the moment with me in that moment, and forget about everything else, and do it for the purity and integrity of the moment. Then you walk away with something more than a kick.
Yeah, that's pretty profound. Let's make sure. Where is your studio?
My studio is in Puck's Alley on the second floor. RedLotusHawaii.com.
And you are, yeah, there's quite a bit of information on your blog, redlotushawaii.com. And you're on Facebook?
I am on Facebook, yes.
And you're working on a new studio.
I am.
Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So, like we said, everything is the same. So, you know, I love working with kids, and I've been very dedicated over the last 2 decades about sending teachers out, going out myself as a teacher, teaching, and then also teaching martial arts. So I opted this fall. Charlie Chan is the only project I'm doing so far this season. I'm working this fall on helping direct a program called Smart Karate, which is sort of what I call the 21st century dojo, where we're bringing the dojo out to the schools instead of having a sort of physical location where all the kids just come to you. So they have different sites, and they work in the after-school programs, and we send teachers out. So I'm training some teachers to go out into the schools, and they work with the kids. And it's been going on for some time. One of my friends, James Kerr, is the owner and founder of Smart Karate, and he's on a year-long sabbatical with his family. So he's asked me to step in and help him
Oh,
run and develop his business while he's away.
that's a really nice culmination of so much of your life.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to bring it into schools like that.
I think so
It's
too.
fabulous. And I think what you said a moment before that is still resonating with me. So pardon me for just jumping right, from one really moving subject to another, but I'm still processing. And you and I talked a little bit about the fact that you mentioned that Charlie Chan was the one show that you've done in quite some time. But you used to do show after show after show.
Right.
after
Actually,
show
it's the
after
one
show.
show I've done in 2013.
Okay.
I until at the end of 2012, I decided I needed to take a little break, which I haven't taken in many years, and have directed so many shows and acted in shows for the last 5 years, especially. Extraordinarily busy.
Why do you think we do that to ourselves? Because I did the same thing. Would be rehearsing lines for one show while I was backstage.
Right. You're in pre-production for one and
Yeah.
in another, and then reading a script for another.
What
and
is it that drives us to do that?
I think because we just want to do work. I mean, we're artists, so the opportunities don't always come around. I feel so very, very fortunate that I'm a working director, and I mean, between 2010 and 2012, I think I directed like 10 shows or something crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
So
You got me beat.
it was crazy.
That's a lot.
And I acted for HAWAIIAN Productions. I acted in 2 shows for them during that time too. I think we just want to work. We want to produce work. We're creative artists, so we want to create. That is what drives us. But a good thing to learn is sometimes you need to stop moving so that you can start moving again.
Yeah.
And I found great joy. So Charlie Chan came up, and I thought, okay, I could do it. I haven't done something in 5 months. And actually, I had just reached that point where I was kind of thinking, I need to do something. I need to do something. I was getting antsy. And then it came up, and it was perfect. And I also, what was another perfect thing about it is, again, I love working on new scripts. I don't like perfection, per se. So I love working on things that nobody's ever done before, first of all. So there's no preconceived notions about it. And you get to create the world for the first time.
Play.
And play, exactly.
Yeah, I'm very glad that you came back. Let's, in that show, we had an issue. You had an actor, a pivotal role in the show, who up until the very last week was with the show and then was not and had to be replaced. And what did that do for the show?
Well, I always hope to think that things happen for a reason. And you're not everybody's director. That's where my ego goes out the door. I'm not the teacher or director for everybody. For the people who I am, fantastic. But I realize that I'm not it for everybody. And vice versa. Performers aren't, the relationship doesn't always gel or happen. And the relationship with the actor to the show doesn't always gel or happen either, because it's its own entity. And I think that...
And not necessarily to the theater.
Right.
Also.
Right, exactly. So I think that hopefully we can all come to the moment where we realize that it happens because of, not in spite of. So I think that the cast and our new actor, it came together to be a completely different show than it was becoming. And I think it was fantastic and amazing. And what they did together was amazing. I was so very, very, very proud. But I think it happened because of, not in spite of, our challenges. We, because of those challenges, managed to make that last week so productive.
Yeah. It's like the week before you go on
Right.
vacation, you get an immense amount of work done, and the moment during a show, and here is the point now. Now, admittedly, I am a perfectionist, but it's a good thing because I write our grant proposals.
Right.
It's, things like that. It's a good thing for some, but I know as both an actor and a director that the moment a line gets dropped or a piece of the set
Oh,
breaks,
Of course.
boom, that is when everything comes together and
right,
magic
and you're
happens.
like, it could have been so much more perfect. There was a moment, I mean, during that, as you bring up the challenge, you know, I feel like my black belt training came in handy then because I had to dig deep and take a deep breath and say, okay, I'm going to strive for excellence now, and what can we do to make it better? Because also, it's a problem to be solved, right? What are we going to do now? Let's figure this out.
Thank you so much, and I love that you're. This is probably why I like you so much. Is you're at your core a problem solver, yeah.
Absolutely,
and
I think so too.
And enjoy the experience of the moment of the problem, right?
I do.
That's what live theater is all about.
That's what live theater is all about.
And apparently also Hapkido.
Yes, absolutely.
We have to go. Thank you so much for being here.
Such a pleasure.
It has been such an honor. I really appreciate and enjoy the conversation. I'm Donna Blanchard, proud managing director of Hawaii Theater. This has been the Arts in Hawaii on the Think Tech Hawaii digital series. I would like to thank Ian Davidson, who is in my ear, our communications director, Chrissy Guffigan, and Jay Fidell, who somehow manages to put all of this together. Thank you to you, the people who are listening and watching, and please come back and join us next week. We'll be talking with Burton White of the Hawaii Theater, and you can go to YouTube. Think Tech Hawaii will take you to YouTube, and you can see all of our shows there. And please like us on Facebook already, would you? Bye.